I'm Tim Taylor. I'm president of the college. And if you need some positive vibes, I'm going to send you some positive thoughts right now. And I've got a real cool conversation planned with you today. We've got Superintendent of Cobden Schools, Edwin Shoemate, with us today.
I don't think I've ever been called cool, so we're off to a good start.
No, this is awesome. So, Edwin, you and I have known each other for, I don't know, going about 5 years now.
5 years, yeah.
Yeah. So, I think for the benefit of the audience paying attention, tell us a little bit about yourself and your family and what you do.
Edwin Shoemate. I'm superintendent / principal at Cobden. I wear both hats in the high school, junior high building. I have a daughter, Madeline, who just graduated from Kent State. She's a drug addiction counselor in Ohio. I have a son who just became a sophomore, who plays basketball, baseball, cross country, keeps us busy, going places all the time. And then I'm married to my wife since 1996.
Oh, wow.
And we live in Alto Pass, which we love. She's originally from Vienna. I grew up in Northern Virginia. My dad was stationed in the military at the Pentagon for a long time. And then our paths crossed at college.
Really? Which college?
SEMO at the time.
SEMO.
Actually, she was going to SEMO. I was going to Shawnee College.
All right. That's
So
what I'm talking about.
I started off at an NAIA school in Lebanon, Tennessee, playing baseball for 2 years, and then
Yeah, I was going to.
that didn't work out very well. I mean, and had to come back and met my wife while she was going to SEMO.
So when you play baseball, what position do you play?
Second base and shortstop.
Middle infielder. So you got
Middle
quickness
infielder,
and strong arms.
Yep. Which is more of like a mold of a Dansby Swanson, right? Or Cubs,
Yes.
which is your team. So
your kids play they're athletic.
yeah, they're athletic. My daughter played basketball and softball in high school. My son loves basketball. Matter of fact, we've been doing a couple workouts where we've been shooting 500 shots, and I think in the last week we shot about 2,000. So he's putting a lot of summer work.
2, 3?
2s and 3s. So a mid-range jumper, and then
is he a 2 or a 3?
Oh,
or a 1?
He's a 1.
A 1? Oh, nice.
He's
Those kind of skills. And he's about your height, or a little.
Yeah, he's taller than I am.
A little taller.
He's almost 6 foot. He's won that extra half inch that he doesn't have yet.
I got you. So, do you do a lot of AAU stuff?
No, we did it for a little.
Teams?
We did it for a little bit. It just was so time consuming, and then you're traveling all the time. And we made the fabulous decision of getting 3 dogs at one time. So we have all 3 are rescues. We have a German Shepherd mix, a pit bull, and then we also have a lab mix.
I see. So you said your son's a sophomore?
Yeah.
So have you been approached by these recruiting services?
We have with actually cross country, which was one of the ones, the sports that he got into as an 8th grader, and his team qualified for state. And it was something that he just wanted to try out, and that's turned out to be one of his better sports. And looking forward to competitive. Actually, we ran this morning. He ran this morning. I run with the cross country team. I'm a lot slower. They're doing 6 to 8 minute miles. I'm doing 12.
You keep them in front of you, so you keep an eye on them, right?
And then when they pass me the other way, I don't know where they're at. But anyways, it's fun. It's fun doing that stuff with them, and my wife and I enjoy watching them.
So when I was up in Michigan, my son Cody, he was a swimmer, and we ended up hiring one of those services, and it was pretty amazing to learn how the recruiting goes at NCAA D1 and D2 levels.
Yeah, you need a dictionary, right?
Yeah, really do.
One of those books that tells you what you need to do, when you need to do it. It's so complicated now. I remember when I picked my college at Cumberland. It was I just sent the baseball coach my numbers via mail, right? There was no email or anything like that, and then he invited my dad and myself to come down for a visit and a tryout, and we're glad we did it and got to stay there for 2 years. So a little bit different than what it was nowadays with NIL deals and everything else going on.
You're sure right about that. When I was recruited a long time ago, the coaches came to your games, and watched you play. Or not necessarily coaches, but they definitely have scouts. So sometimes the coaches would come. But now they don't even come unless they've gone through these videos and have assistants boil it down and say, go see these people. It's really kind of crazy. But it kind of worked out for Cody because I think he got some exposure that he wouldn't have otherwise gotten. He got a few scholarship offers because of it. So I would encourage you to at least consider it if that's something that he wants to do, play beyond high school.
And basketball is his big thing, but I think cross country would be a sport that they can do some stuff with. So
yeah, I love basketball too. I was better at baseball, which is where I got recruited mostly from, but it was too short to be a five, which is where I ended up playing a lot in high school, 4 or 5s, and no way. But anyhow, I would certainly encourage you to do that.
Awesome.
So let's kind of change the subject a bit.
Sure.
If you were to take a sabbatical and go back to school yourself, no responsibilities, being full student life, what would you study and why would that be?
I'm a student of history, so my dad, when I was growing up, we lived in the Northeast, and Manassas Battlefield was a field trip every year for our school.
Sure.
Ford's Theater, same. Gettysburg, I love Gettysburg, been there multiple times, so it have to do with something with history. And then, as a little kid, I always want to be an archaeologist. I just want to go on a dig one time. And that was something that I always thought I would do when I got older. Of course, things change as you grow up and your interests shift. But archaeology or something to do with history and Civil War history, and just I love that.
That's your favorite era?
The whole era, yeah. That, the different battles, Antietam, and the fact that I've been to a lot of those places, makes. I took my kids there, and it's, they're not really, it's not a. There's no video to show, no YouTube video to watch, right? Mm-hmm. Make sure you can find them, but it's get out there and walk around and just see the different things. Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. I mean, the fact if you go to Gettysburg, you see the fence line with the tree line, and you can just imagine the Union cannons on the other side, facing the Confederates as they charge across this 160, 170 yard field with no protection.
It's crazy stuff.
How brave are they, right?
That's what I was just going to say.
You're just walking into death. So
without certain with regard to their own lives. And when you think about it, I mean, Virginia has always been kind of the center of kind of the spirit of America. I mean, it's where a lot of the American Revolutionary thought came from, and a lot of folks, was in Washington from Virginia too?
Washington, yeah. He was
Jefferson?
He lived in Mount Vernon. And,
So some revolutionary spirit in that state for sure. One of my first places I visited outside of Carbondale was Cobden.
Oh yeah, great place.
Yeah, but it's known for its charm and its tight-knit community. Yeah. What's your favorite local tradition or place that you'd like to unwind after a long work week?
Unwinding, I don't know. A taqueria is the place to go during the day.
Okay.
It's authentic. Mexican. One of my employees' mom and dad run it. It's authentic. It's just a place where everybody goes, and people will have withdrawals because they'll travel over the Christmas break. They'll travel to Mexico and then back, so they shut down for about 3 months. So that first day they open up, it's almost impossible to get them on the phone. You've got to go in person. You've got to place your order, and then it's going to be 35, 40 minutes at a taco shack before you can get your meal. The wineries are nice to unwind in. My wife and I live in Alto, so Alto Vineyards is right across the street from our house. And just the scenery, just going for a hike. Little Grand Canyon's not far from our house. Those type of things, and just getting outdoors. And we have a nice piece of property that we like to get out on. We have decks that overlook it, and just that's how I unwind, just sitting and relaxing on my deck.
So favorite Mexican food?
Favorite Mexican food, torta. They make a mad torta at
beef, chicken, or
chorizo. Chorizo, and throw some steak on top of it. It's really good.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So you probably had other Mexican restaurants in the area.
Yeah.
How would you rank them compared to, let's say?
Well, I mean, for the authentic experience, it's number one. It's been rated in Chicago. It's been rated in some of their publications as one of the top places to travel to.
I definitely need to get over there because I'm a big Mexican food.
Yeah. So it's really good.
Now, do they serve alcohol too?
They do not.
Oh, okay.
No, they do not. No alcohol there.
You got to have a Corona with your.
You can, yeah, most of the times, but there it's they have the Mexican sodas and stuff like that that people like.
It makes sense. Okay, so let me ask you this:
Sure.
what one book or movie or song that always inspires you or helps you reset when your job gets really tough?
Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. David Goggins is a ex-SEAL who tells his life story of growing up in poverty, his struggles with his weight, struggling what he wanted to do, and then figuring out that he wanted to be a SEAL, and then him reaching that pinnacle. And actually going through and being successful in the SEAL training was hard because he would push himself so hard that he would break bones in his feet, his legs. And there's a lot of great stories and inspiration in his writings. And he has 2 books. Read both. My sons read them. Both enjoyed them. But that's who I would turn to.
And his name is Goggins?
Goggins, yeah.
And I'm guessing he did the SEAL training in San Diego.
San Diego, yeah.
And so did he talk about his SEAL experience in that?
Yeah, he did that. And what I really got for it is he got into ultra running, which is long distance running, 500 miles or more. And some of the experience that he has there, it's how, but he pushes his body to the limit. Not that I'm a physique type of guy, but I just like the fact that there's somebody that goes and gets what they want, and lays it all out on the line.
It sounds good. So, I might have to read that. I'm kind of inspired by the same kind of stories where somebody's kind of lifted themselves up out of poverty.
I got the audio book was good, and he reads the audio book, and then I read the hard copy as well. Can't listen to it around with children, a lot of cursing in it. But he lays it. He talks pretty honestly.
So you have a favorite song or something that goes along with that?
Oh, End of the World by R.E.M.
Okay.
It's probably my favorite song. I grew up in that age where R.E.M. was becoming known, and The Cure. I was more of an alternative rock guy.
Did you ever see any of their tributes at the Hangar?
I have not. No, I have not. I think the best concert I've been to, though, if we concert-wise, was like Bob Dylan.
Oh.
So.
That's a good one. Have you ever been to any of his restaurants?
No, I have not. I didn't know he had restaurants, so
yeah.
I need to visit one of those.
All right. So your journey through this higher education stratosphere starts off as a special education teacher, then you're a assistant regional superintendent, and that was at Vienna, right?
Assistant regional
or superintendent at Vienna.
And I was superintendent at Vienna after being a regional superintendent.
And then you went to Cobden?
I went to Cobden, yeah.
So how have these experiences shaped your leadership philosophy?
I think they've all played a role in them, no doubt. Being a special ed teacher, I think that's one of the hardest jobs in K-12. I love doing it, but you're so connected with your students. You want them to do really well, despite some of the disabilities that they might have. It's you wear it on your sleeve when you go out and you talk to other teachers, because you have to talk to teachers and make sure they understand the student needs this type of service while they're in your classroom, and that teacher doesn't understand that, and then you have to sort of go back and reaffirm that. But that was a true passion of mine. My father-in-law, Dan Anderson, who was the regional superintendent for some time here, got me into that. I was really floundering and really didn't know where I needed to go. And he said, "Hey, I know this person." And at the time, my wife was at NIU, and I was trying to finish up an associate's, which I started at Shawnee, and was at Kishwaukee Community College in DeKalb, and one of his friends was an instructor there and said, "Hey, you need to take this class," and I did, and it was like an instant draw to that for me. So, that they inspired. Those kids inspired me. Every time I see them today, I'm inspired. I have one that's a nurse, whose mom would call me. She listens to podcasts, so, but she would call me all the time, scared to death about every test he took. And I would just say, hey, he's going to be fine. But he's a nurse, and I'm so proud of that. I had one student who was classified as behavior disorder that was in trouble a lot, all the time. I had him up until he went to junior high, and then, out of the blue, during the Iraq War, I get a phone call, and it was on my voice message at home. It's him, just saying, "Hey, Mr. Shoemate, just want to let you know, I'm a Marine. I'm heading to Afghanistan," and I'm sitting there going, "Holy cow!" Right? Just gives me chills now just to think about it, and the fact that he thought of me to call as he was leaving, So that was a huge impact on me. And then going to the ROE and then being on more of the administrative side and helping all the county superintendents, all the regional superintendents, with things that were popping up in their districts. So it gave me a real good foundation for going into the superintendent role, because Dr. Webb would call me, and that type of stuff, and bounce ideas off me, or say, "Hey, I've got this problem. What should I do?" And having great mentors, those guys becoming great mentors of mine. As I became a superintendent, I had a phone tree that was unbelievable, right? I could pick up and call, anybody in the southern part of the state through those connections. So, so the whole philosophy is just, special ed, every kid deserves a chance. Every kid has a right to learn type of philosophy, to a superintendent role where you're managing people, which, as you know, is not always easy, and can be difficult, and it's always a challenge, right? But then you go back to your main goal is that every kid deserves to learn, and that's something that to up until today, and in the future, that's what I hang my hat on, is every kid has a chance to be successful.
Yeah.
And if kids can't be successful, then we might be doing something wrong.
That's a great point.
So and I try to tell students, and I try to tell staff, it's okay to fail. I failed. I have failed multiple times, right?
That's how we learn
in my life, and that's how we learn to get through it. We learn, how to deal with adversity. And sometimes if you're scared to fail, you're doing yourself no favors.
Yeah, I've been in higher ed most of my career, probably about 36 years now, but I did have about an 8-month window right before COVID where I decided I was going to try to retire and start my own consulting company. And I found out right away I wasn't really ready to retire because Missy was working and I was getting bored pretty quick. And so I decided to go teach K-12. And one of the first assignments I got was in a special education setting.
And
I had a lot
of those teachers,
behavioral students. Right. But it was like when I was back in my classroom in Milwaukee teaching the inner city gang kids. You ended up loving those kids real easy. Oh, yeah. And you can make a connection. And even though they were behavioral outside your classroom, they always treated you differently. And then you become their advocate. And I always found like the teachers were their own worst enemies in a lot of cases.
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes. And so that was something that really kind of recentered me and helped me get a better perspective. Because there's some pretty significant changes in the K-12 environment and the way these days than the way they were.
Stuff like that, we can't, you can't just go out and throw kids out of school and do different things like you used to be able to do in the old days. I mean, that was before me, or paddling.
Oh yeah, I got my share of those when I was in school.
I got threatened one time and had to go out in the rain and retrieve mail for the secretary to keep from getting that to happen. So
we ended up I was a flag boy, but ended up putting the flag upside down accidentally because it was raining, and then I got in trouble for that. I had to do a lot of push-ups and stuff back in those days. But that was the late 60s, early 70s. Wow. So those were a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, and then the reward of hearing back from a student. I've got a few of those in my career. I cherish those. I mean,
every time we have a graduate walk in through our doors at Cobden, we're super excited to hear about their experiences, and really it turns into a learning experience for us because they tell us, because we want them to be honest, right? We want them to say, hey, really prepared in writing. Math, maybe I struggle a little bit in this area, and that's feedback for our teachers, and I like to think that, and I know our teachers take that to heart and try to make improvements.
Absolutely. So I also know you were past president of the Association of Illinois Rural and Small Schools.
AIRS, yeah.
And, what unique challenges and opportunities do rural schools face from your point of view?
Well, I mean, pick it. It's funding. After COVID, I mean, the funding dried up. All the ESSER money, which I think the college got as well.
Yeah, we didn't call it ESSER, but
yeah. But so it's always a challenge being in a rural school. Number one, teachers right now are a huge issue. We're searching for a special ed teacher. We think we found one. Hoping they don't leave, they just change their mind and go to somebody else, because that's happened to me before. Offer somebody a job, they walk out, call me 20 minutes later and say, hey, I've taken another job. I'm like, okay. So anyways, that the challenge of getting all your staff hired, the challenge of enrollment nowadays, right? In Cobden, we're pretty blessed. I mean, we set about 465, 475, and that's what we've been since I've been there. But we also don't have home selling, right? Because nobody sells a home.
Right.
We have one home up now for sale now. It's $300,000, which not a lot of families can afford.
Right.
And there's nobody's selling their farmland. There's nobody buying, and putting in a cul-de-sac, area. So it's a true struggle to keep that enrollment, knowing that nobody's moving out of your community, right? You're blessed that everybody's staying because they support our district and they support what we do, but the challenge is getting people to move into the district. And then some of the other challenges that we face is, it's a lot of attention goes to the bigger districts.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of attention goes to the Napervilles and, a lot of the kudos, but we're doing great things in Southern Illinois.
I know it.
A lot of people are doing great things around this area that people just don't know about, and we need to do a better job of communicating that. I mean, we're pretty active on our Facebook page. I have some great people that do great promotions on my behalf, and they get out and make sure that people know what we're doing. But it's tough for people to really understand what a rural school goes through functioning, and then you're people forget you're a little business, right? Our budget not near we're $5 million budget. And people forget that. They feel like, you could just go out and hire 3 or 4, new
right.
people. Like, well, we don't have the rooms for those people, right? Or we lost our gym, in 2001, right?
Yeah.
End of COVID, 2002, and got no funding from the state.
So you guys came back from that really.
Yeah,
and you guys did a great job with that.
Thank you. It took a lot of hard work, a lot of people, but our board was great and just sort of let us design some stuff, and then took it back to them, and they liked what we had, but little schools can't afford stuff like that, right? We're financially stable, so we're able to go out and do different things, and our tax bills just went out, our taxes went down.
Did they?
So yeah, so from Cobden, so we're super excited about that. We're able to spend wisely, and try to get programs into our district that most rural schools don't have.
Yeah, we have similar college issues at the college. Attracting employees. We serve 5 counties,
right.
But within our 5-county footprint, there's only 50,000 people in terms of the population, 51, 52. And what we actually done a deep analytic dive into that all the way back to 1972, and it's pretty consistent. We lose about 1% a
right.
year in our county populations. And we've also kind of dug into the ISB data, your 10-day count or whatever you call it, the count day stuff.
Yeah.
And it looks like for the last 10 or 12 years that we've been losing about 2.5% of our population of high school kids. So that just, when you put those two numbers together, we're getting older and poorer.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of districts that are less than 100 students.
Yeah, and I think if our enrollment projection model is correct, we're going to drop below 500 seniors in 27 in the 5-county region, which is Unbelievable.
We graduate, I think, on a range from 32 to about 55 since I've been there.
That sounds about.
Yeah.
So, I mean, certainly the employee part of it is part of it. The enrollment piece is the same things we have issues with. But the other thing, and I think is probably common too, but you didn't mention it, when you're a small school person, especially an administrator, you have to wear multiple hats.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was a
Yeah.
president up at Oakland Community College in Michigan, 26,000 full-time students, $200 million budget. I didn't have to do a lot but be president.
Right.
Here I have to be president. Sometimes I have to be chief academic officer. Sometimes I go out help and pick up the lot, doing things like that. That's how we have to get things done. Because even though we're small, we still have the same reporting requirements, all the same other stuff that other institutions.
Yeah, I mean that's a challenge, right? I mean,
Yes.
I have to evaluate teachers,
Mm-hmm.
but I also have to do discipline. We have a dean of students 2 days a week, and those are usually my meeting days. So I'm usually coming out here to college for Five County or going to a Illinois IASA meeting in John A. Logan. So it's and then you're working later because you've dealt with discipline all day.
Right.
Or you have to deal with a teacher, or you have to have parents that want to talk to you. All those things people really don't take because when you work, you get your summers off. Well, no, administrators don't get their summers off. And I love my job. I wouldn't do anything else. I don't plan on doing anything else. I don't. I love my district. But it is overwhelming. And you throw in something. We had a student who passed away this year. In the middle of the school year in February 1st, and getting that call, and I was on the road to Cape to pick up stuff for an athletic event the next day, and that just, and your first thought is your kids. How are they going? Popular kid, senior.
Yeah, they've all also.
It's just and then your teachers. You got to take care of your teachers as well because they're grieving, and then the whole community's grieving, and and you just try to you fly by the seat of your pants, making sure that you got everybody covered. And that's probably one of the hardest things. I know that's one of your questions later on, but that's one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with.
Sure. Outside
of COVID.
Yeah, the respect that you guys deserve. I mean, you got all of my respect. I mean, I could not do your job because I don't have the temperament for it. Especially the first time a parent walked into my office complaining about their kid not getting enough playing time for this or that. I just tell them to leave.
I'll tell you a quick story though. There's a conversation between friends here.
All right.
So I won't tell what district. So at one of my positions, I had a parent actually come into my office and complain his son was getting too much varsity time because the varsity team wasn't winning, and the JV team needed to learn how to win. So that was I looked at it and I just couldn't. I didn't know what to say. It was like too much varsity time, and I've never had that since. But usually it's the other way around. They and I and it's getting to the point now where I think some college coaches are being approached by parents and complaining with some of that stuff, and it might go on, at small colleges, but it's just, there's no, growing up as athletes, we both, you had to earn what you got. There was no given to you, right?
No
there was
question.
nothing given to you. So, yeah.
I can't imagine some of my old coaches listening to a parent at all. They would never have done that.
No, absolutely not.
It's certainly a different environment. So did you ever have like an aha moment in education, and maybe how that might have shaped your perspective, your leadership?
I don't know. Probably my first day of teaching. So I took over a classroom in Massac at Brookport Little B School, and the teacher had left mid-year. So I come back, it's Christmas, I'm your new teacher, and I have, it was 15 kids, which is a large amount of kids, and grades 2 through 6. My classroom was next to the principal's office in a trailer because they were redoing the school. So way to start, right? You get to sit next to the principal and he gets to listen to everything you do all day.
In a trailer.
Yeah. So about lunchtime, my aides, and I had two wonderful aides that when I was at Brookport, and one's going on to become a leader in that district. And the other one, I think, was an aide until she retired, and just they were great people. But we get to the middle of the day, and we go to lunch, and everybody starts crying in my room, and I'm like, "What's going on?" And they're like, "We didn't complete all of our work, so we can't have recess." And I was like, "What?" I was like. And I looked at my aides, and they were like, "Yeah, that's how it's been done." I was like, so kids with disabilities, trying to push through, and it was busy work, right? My aides, I just told them, do what you normally do, so just to observe, and then in the middle of the day, they do that, and then, so we tore up our packets. We had we didn't burn them, but we, throw them in the trash. So every kid, and to see their joy on their face tearing up the packet, cracked you up, but from that moment on, I realized that you can't treat every kid the same. Right, and you can't just give kids busy work to do. Anything that you put in front of a student has to be intentional. It has to have value. And I think when teachers get in a hurry, and I understand it, everybody's busy and you've got things going on at home, but when teachers get in a hurry and we put something in front of a kid that's just to keep them busy, we're not doing what we should be doing. So that was my, the first day of being an educator on my own was probably the biggest moment of my career, because and not to put down the teacher that left or in the middle of the year, because they were probably knew they were leaving, right, and were just pushing out stuff. But just that moment of seeing all those kids just implode because we didn't have enough work done. That they were going to have to sit in for recess. So, and those kids need recess. Like every kid's need recess, right? So one thing I cannot stand is when somebody takes away recess, because then you've taken away the one outlet for that kid to go out and let loose all the energy that is being displayed in your classroom.
Right.
But anyways, that's my aha moment.
That's a great one. So, kind of shifting a little bit, looking at kind of partnership kind of stuff. How do you see the K-12 system and higher education working more seamlessly together to prepare students for life after school?
Well, I think, some of the stuff that I've heard you talk about, Dr. Taylor, you're on the right path. I think it's more of a CTE for our area. I think we have those kids that are naturally going to go to those four-year universities and do great things. But we also have a lot of students that are looking for something that's unique, that fits what they want to do, right? And we have a lot of kids that are good with their hands. They could be automotive workers, or they could go work for the highway department and do great things there. In our community, we have a lot of kids that want to be farmers, and they want to start their own small farm. And we have a lot of small farms in our community, which I think we're doing in partnership with you guys. We're doing some ag class, some business ag classes this year in our school that we're sort of excited about. But I think, that push to four-year university, and I was at another district that was a big push, and dual credit, right? Big push. But I have a tendency now of saying, no, we don't offer as much dual credit as we did in my previous district, but we offer enough, because I feel like we sort of push those kids sometimes into a pathway at 16 that 2 years later, and I've had them come back to me and say, "Ms. Shoemate, I've got to go back and redo some of my core classes because I've changed my major." And that's upsetting to the parents because of money, and upsetting to the student because here I go, I got to start a new pathway again. But I think, I think doing some great things. I know Vienna's doing some things with the construction and stuff like that, the highway building. I think stuff like that in Southern Illinois, that's going to keep people here, right? Which is one of our things. We want to keep people in Southern Illinois.
Yeah, we want to keep our tax base, and we want to keep our families together.
Yeah, I mean, so that's a big thing. And then just AIs, I'm really worried about. I've read some articles. Axiom put out an article, I think a week and a half ago, about a lot of the kids graduating with 4-year degrees now in business may not have jobs in 5 years because of AI can replace those kids. So we've got to be prepared, both of us, high school, K-12 and college, how are we going to battle that? I don't know any good solution to battling that. Everybody seems to want to go straight to a technology fix, but you're still going to need, still got to be a human component there.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even, this may get into the later kind of question I was going to talk about technology and its influence, but I've been like I said, I've been around for 36 years,
Right.
and of those 36 years, most of it's been in the CTE focus. I mean, although I've been a president for 17 years, but in those roles, I had occasion to work with employers all the time.
Right.
I've probably met with thousands of employers, literally. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. And people who would employ our graduates, and I ask them, "What are you looking for from a graduate of the college?"
Right.
And they tell, it didn't matter what sector they were from. They could be business and industry, IT, ag, manufacturing, medical, healthcare. Didn't matter. TDL, same things. We need people who can communicate with each other and our customers.
Right.
So they need to be able to talk and speak. They need to be able to write technical manuals, technical docs, take technical notes, make technical logs. So they need to be able to write. They need to be able to solve problems, complex social problems,
Right.
generally. And then they need to be able to work on a tractor, or they need to be able to work on a car, or weld, or something
Right.
like that. And so when you think about that process of communication, writing and oral, problem solving, to me, and I'm old school, I grew up in the 60s and 70s. And this is what I think people don't understand, parents especially. They always ask, "Why do I need to take that history course?
Right.
What's so important about Right. the Civil War? What do I care?" It's not important to know that Abraham Lincoln signed that.
Right.
What's important is to understand that political climate at
Yeah.
the time and what precipitated those actions and what brought those people to the war.
Right.
And taking those thoughts from your head and writing
Put it
it on a
on
piece of paper.
Yeah.
That's a process that you go through to create problem solving, right? And the better you do that, the more you
Right.
do that. So this whole idea of duplicating courses, it falls a little short for me personally, because I think that helps the student get better at these problem
Right.
solving issues. And so I think that's important for people to understand, and that's a message I try to get out, but I'm not very successful at it. But the other thing is it relates to CTE, and I was in Auburn Hills, Michigan at the time in 2008. Remember what happened in 2008? Auto industry
Right.
crashed.
Yeah.
And Oakland Community College, half of our funding, so about $100 million of our funding, was tied to the local tax base, which lost 40% overnight.
Yeah.
And so we were faced with a $60 million budget deficit, and Michigan has tax caps where you can only bring back that EAV about 2% a year. So they weren't going to even get that $60 million back until 2029. And so we had to be very creative about what we did in terms of problems of CTE programming.
Right.
And the point is when we started talking to all the manufacturing industries in Oakland County, and they were from all over the world, it's truly a global society there. We're telling us that, jobs that exist today won't exist in 5 years.
Right.
Because the technology is going to evolve and change. And so students are going to have to learn again to think about and prepare
Right.
and anticipate, and they're going to need retraining. And so that retraining idea has been integrated at least since 2015, 2016. So we're seeing it play out here in Southern Illinois.
Yeah.
I knew it would because it played out in Michigan and still playing out. But that is something that we are we all need to be worried about.
It is.
How do we continually reinvent ourselves so that our students and our
Yeah.
parents even can reposition themselves and work locally? And so that's really a focus of the college, and I know it's your focus as
It
well.
is. Yeah. Absolutely.
And we do appreciate
Yeah.
the support, because not everybody understands the dual credit thing. They all think I'm an anti-dual credit. I'm not.
Right.
I just want an intentional dual credit that makes sense for the students.
Absolutely.
So that they don't have to redo.
Right.
But, I'm also not advocating that you don't change your majors, because I was in engineering.
Right.
And here I am in higher ed. So, I think you ought to follow your passions, but just know that there's consequences to
Right.
making those changes.
Absolutely.
And if you do that with knowledge, then you're good, in my mind. But I got off on a diatribe.
We're good. We're good.
So let me ask this. It might be a little bit connected. If you could redesign the education process from scratch, what's one thing you'd change for K-12 and one thing you'd change for higher ed?
I think it's all the way through. I think hands-on learning. I think we go, at Cobden, when I got there, we had seniors had Chromebooks,
Mhm.
And one of my things I went in with, the board, I gave a 100-day plan, and then, a 5-year outlook of where we'd be. And, in 5 years, we'd have Chromebook K through 12, which we have, but we've scaled it back some just because, kids aren't writing, right? Kids are dependent on Chromebooks. My son, who I'll ask him a question, he'll get his phone out. Last night we were talking about, where did a certain player for the Pacers play, gets his phone out. Well, he played for...
Wasn't Reggie Miller, was it?
No. I love Reggie Miller, though. But Gonzaga, right? So,
yeah.
So it's stuff that, they're so in tune on finding information the easy way when they really have to solve a problem, or really, it goes back to what you were saying, they struggle, right?
Mm-hmm.
They struggle in math. We're seeing numbers in math that, kids just are having a hard time with math. And that could be, and probably is connected to COVID still, right? Because you have kids that were in kindergarten, that now they're what, 5th, 6th graders. And we're seeing that, just K-12 is seeing that a big part. And then the emotional baggage, right? We, as a educator, we really weren't trained on emotional health. And I see that as one of the biggest issues that we have at Cobden, and it stretches into, and everybody's stressed, right? Like valedictorian race, right? Comes down to tenths of a point. And we'll have kids that are literally crying after every test. Even though they got an A. They're bawling, and I'm sitting there going, what are we doing, right? What are we doing to those kids that, because now, that most schools aren't even looking at the ACT scores, right? They're just submission, and I know that number 1 is important next to your name, but number 2 is just as important. And those grades are going to get you into whatever college you want to go to as well. I mean, we have kids going to, Arizona State, Arizona. We've got a kid go to Wash. A couple kids go to Wash U. All great schools. They're not getting in just because, their looks. They're getting in because they put hard work in. But then it comes down to this, who's going to give that speech? Right? And that's literally a question. Who's going to give the speech? I'm like, well, it's like, the valedictorian gives a speech, but why are we worried about that as an 8th grader?
Yeah.
Right? Because that's when it starts. These kids are scoping out, who's in front of them. But I think that goes, mental health is one of my big areas right now, just K through 12, and also I think into the college arena, because we have kids that don't know how to release stress. And we have kids
they need more recess.
They can't, well, they do. But they can't, and so that's, I don't know if I answer your question, that might be a little off topic, but to me, that's just, if I had to change something and make something better, it'd be that we were all better trained in emotional learning. And,
you get some SEL grants now, don't you?
We do, and we're pretty fortunate. We've got a great counselor, high school counselor, and we have a great social worker at the junior high level, and I have a great social worker at the elementary building. And that was something our board thought after the last couple of years we've had that was important for us to have, and we couldn't have done it this year without that help.
Yeah, so I'm sure you're familiar with competency-based learning.
Yeah,
and because you've been a student of education for a while, so you understand the taxonomies and stuff like that. In just my limited experience in the K-12 environment, even before I went into the special ed classrooms, it kind of felt like we were only really testing kids at the knowledge comprehension level. If you look at the actual tests that were given, they're not really having to think or apply. And I think there's a way to leverage competency-based education coupled with, AI, because I use AI a lot now.
Right.
Over the last 18, 24 months, I've figured out ways to use it to help me with my communications.
Right.
And, I know if you're a Dist, you're familiar with Dist personality profile. I know if you're a high IS person, I can tailor my communication to yours. But I'm ended up, it's better communication, but it takes me just as long, if not longer, to do, because I have to go back and forth with AI. So, but I think that the competency-based education, what it does is it takes this emphasis off of grades to me. And it also takes the emphasis off time. It allows you to move forward at your own rate of being able to master.
Right.
And to me, I feel like that has a lot of promise if we can figure out a way to harness that across the K-12 system.
The problem, that I agree with you 100%. The problem with competency-based learning is that you have to have teachers buy in.
Right.
Right, because everybody has to be mastering.
Right.
We can't move forward if Johnny is the one student not mastering, or we have to give him more support. And I think that's where it falls down a little bit, is where you move through and you say everybody's at the same pace, but in the K-12 world, you could have 3 special ed students in there, or you could have a student who's high functioning autism in there, who's moving quicker than everybody else, who doesn't need, we've got a student who doesn't need to listen to the instruction, right? He just goes to work. But I think that, competency bases grades, and especially if you get into a rubric, right? Because that's just judging. That's just a judgment of a teacher that you completed, that all the things in a rubric, that I feel are important, you've done. But is it encompassing everything that a student should know or know how to do?
It would definitely, at your level especially, K-12, it definitely takes some teacher associations to come together and say these are what the standards look like. What we're actually doing with welding starting next year is, I don't care if it takes somebody 2 days to master a competency or 2 weeks. That's up to them. We've kind of put our lecture materials and support materials all online, and students can juice through that as fast as they want.
Right. And
so we're experimenting with that. Our business programs are going to be our second experimentation in that. But the standards are AWS standards, right? And so they're national, so they should translate across the institutions and into the workplace. Same with business, we'll use the COPA standards and moving forward. So I feel like if we can figure out what the national standards look like and what the criteria and conditions look like, whether or not that student moves through 2 weeks, 2 days, 2 hours, that's really up to to how we figure out how to manage it.
I think it's helpful when they move at their own pace, though.
I do too.
I think it's really helpful. And it's not set, we're not set up that way, right? We're just set that the state wants us to teach this amount of material.
Right. It's the rules and regulations that get in our way. We have the same problem with financial aid. Although you can get through a whole welding curriculum in a semester potentially, you can't get the financial aid if you only do 2 classes. So it's the system has to catch up to this idea, which it shouldn't. It's been around since the 40s and 50s. Military's been using it for years. But anyhow, that's kind of where we're going. I think it could solve a lot of our problems and issues, but it's going to take a bigger, more structured effort to make it work.
With no Department of Ed right now. I don't know what's going on. So.
For sure. So what's something you learned from your students that really surprised you?
Really surprised me.
Maybe even changed your perspective a bit.
We're 56% poverty. And coming from somebody that never had to deal with that. My parents did when they were, and I hear their stories, but when you're disciplining a kid, and that's come up a couple times, and I try to make it a personal type thing. I try, I don't yell, I don't scream. I try to say, hey, what's going on? You can talk to me. And when these kids dive into, well, Ms. Shoemate, I don't have food at home.
Breaks your heart down.
I don't,
when you hear
mom's lost her job. Right now, we have a lot of parents scared about, not being in the country. Right. And that type of stuff, it makes you appreciate what you have, right? But it also makes you work hard to make sure that they have some good things going on at all times. It's as simple as saying, I'll go back to the student that passed away. One thing that he did with me every morning was ask me how my day was going. Every morning. And we, he'd been in my trouble, and I had to discipline him, and we've had our, some big time issues, but every morning he would ask me how my day was going. And that, at the moment I'm thinking, oh yeah, I'm having a great day. But then, after that event happened, you're sitting there going, holy cow. Mm-hmm. He cared about people, right? And I think students and adults both need to know that I care about them. My teachers need to know that I support them. I'm not a very good communicator as well, so I struggle with that. So sometimes I feel like I don't think I support them. But those kids that come in and have those stories, and then and you know it, and you know what they're going home to, and you really can't change anything. It's just trying to make their day better and trying to make sure they understand they have somebody that they can talk to and listen, and is going to listen, and and is going to take action and help.
That's awesome. That's what I'd be doing, or trying to do anyhow. So, in your opinion, what do college presidents need to understand about today's high school graduates, and something that I may not know?
They like everything to be easy. Today's students, and it goes back to just in all aspects, athletics and and classes. I think you have a lot of students that really push themselves hard and earn everything they get, and then you have a lot of kids that know how to game the system. And it's been more since COVID. It's more they game the system. They know what classes to take, and they know they can this at grade average gets them into certain places. I'm not going to push any higher than that, right? It's like a college kid. I'm a big stickler on 4 years of math.
Amen, brother.
Right,
some of that.
Right. 4 years of math.
Yep.
But state says 3, right? And we're trying to up it to where we'll give because the states don't allow us to give a algebra credit to 8th graders, high school algebra credit to 8th graders. That's a law now, which is great. But then my argument is, what am I going to do if they don't take math, right? And those are all kids that are going to college, right? They've already been identified as, top students in math. Then they get that, so then they've only got to take 2 more credits. And then there's 2 years with no math.
Yeah.
And if you're going to college, you got to do math, right? I mean, you have to have it.
I would love it if they had it.
You can't stop with geometry. You can't. You've got to go to calc or pre-calc. I mean, it's so I think I don't know. It's a struggle.
I got twins, juniors, right? Well, they'll be seniors starting next year. At AJ, yeah. And I got one of them. He did just like what you said. He got a 36 on his ACT, but he made enough mistakes in his program so he wouldn't have to give the graduation speech. He doesn't want to be valedictorian.
Oh, okay.
I got another one. I got a 24 or something. Didn't even care about that thing. And he's just kind of flying through life. So that they've got these perceptions, and they're doing just what they need to do to get by. They both want to go to University of Illinois. And I'm like,
okay.
Well, okay, Dad, he's going to have to get another job outside of being. But that said, it's funny how their behavior. I mean, there's always this argument of nature versus nurture.
Right.
These were twins that were raised. I mean, they've been not separated the entire lives, but one is really connected to the academics and performance. The other one's like, I'm trying to figure it out. I think I want to be this. So there's more to the nurture piece than just the social elements of it, for sure.
Yeah.
The way they use YouTube as a learning tool is just a crazy thing that I learned about. I'm starting to see that all the students are doing that kind of thing.
Yeah, my kid was doing that. I think he was doing that during COVID.
Was he?
As a 5th grader. And that was, and he was, it goes back to, some kids flourished at that time. And we had some kids that struggled, right? Because they needed the one-on-one help in person. My kid had his schedule down. He never missed a class. He had straight A's, and he loved it. He could do that all the time, and it's just that goes. I mean, it just like he could take college courses online right now and probably do pretty well in it, because that's just what he enjoys doing. He just enjoys being online, enjoys YouTube. And I always tease him. He's on the Scholar Bowl team. I left that out, but he's on the Scholar Bowl team. he has all these useless facts. And he just running. He just, Dad, did you know? I'm like, no, I didn't know that. So, but anyways, yeah. So
that's one. I mean, as I observe my own kids, and I think it's starting to be really true of most of the Gen Z kids, is that they're really truly multitaskers and really like to direct their own learning on their own time frame.
Yeah. I think that's, and we see that at the high school level too. Not so much at the junior high level, just because it's a different atmosphere, but the high school level, we see that.
I mean, I could never used to listen to music and text my friends and do my homework all at the same time and actually do that stuff.
As long as you're not texting and driving.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're really different. They learn differently, that's for darn sure. So, what's one leadership lesson you wish you'd learned earlier in your career?
I think not to be so laid back. I'm pretty laid back. And I'm not that it's hurt me in my leadership. I'm not that stand up in front of the room type of guy that is going to give you an hour and a half PD. I wish I was that type of person sometimes, because I come up with a lot of things, but I just don't. I struggle with communication. I think is one of the biggest things I struggle with outside of what I just said. So being a better communicator and being an intentional communicator, instead of just responding, being proactive. That's where I fall down at.
Mine was early on because I was right out of SIU. I went up to Milwaukee to work to teach at a private school. That's actually where I implemented the competency-based education. But I had inner city kids,
right,
all gang. It was a private school. I had to take those kids and get them from wherever they were to job ready in 9 months. And so if you looked at the curriculum and mapped it back, it was about a 60 credit hour curriculum. And I had to teach them math, and I had to teach them speech and communications, because all those employers told me that's what they needed, and how to solve problems. And I felt like, part of higher education is teaching people to be good citizens. So I did a little bit of that. All in 9 months, inner city kids, right? So I felt like I was pretty successful. I had 117 students in 3 years, 98 of them graduated, 89 got good jobs locally, Milwaukee Electric Tool, Harley Davidson, Square D, Johnson Controls, good organizations like that. So I felt like I had electronics and teaching wired. So my first administrative job, I supervised a program of electronics, and I kept trying to get my electronics instructors to teach like what I did. And that was not the path to success as an administrator. What I had to learn, and the most valuable lesson to me, is I had my role as a manager, leader, isn't to do what I did. It's to help others get better, give them the resources and to build your team. And I've learned that lesson the hard way almost every step up to president. And then, now I preach it, just, build your team, your team. What resources do you need? As I build my team, that are around me, what resources do you need? And it's just a whole different way of thinking that I didn't understand early on.
I think that's such a big key. I mean, because you have your group of people that, and then you have multiple groups here, but each one of them have a leader, and you've got to give that leader everything they need to make that group successful. You can't leave it up to that leader to come up with things on their own. They might come up and say, "Hey, we need this," and you supply that, but they got to have the aptitude to just push forward with no matter what happens. Right? We want them to, because that's the only way you grow. And then you fail, right? And then you grow more. But I think it's just giving people tools and stepping back and watch. That's what I like to do. And one of your other questions, we're going to go through some of the stuff we've done at Cobden. That's where I it's totally outside the box. And stuff I wouldn't have done.
So that was just a big thing for me. Is just sometimes you get some very creative solutions that I would never thought of for sure. So how do you foster innovation and adaptability in your schools, and how might that approach apply to higher education?
Well, with title monies, I'm pretty. That's my little stash that we keep, and when somebody comes in with a neat idea, we go after. So I really every every staff meeting almost, I try to tell people, you have something that you want to try, you got to come talk to me, because we have this amount of money left. So we started my first year there, my second year at Cobden. I was thumbing through, and I'm a big guy with my periodicals that come across my desk. I look at them no matter what, because you never know what you're going to find in there.
Oh, I know.
So I was thumbing through, and I come across this guitar building workshop, and we have a great art instructor, Jeremy Crawford, who I said, hey, look at this, see if you're interested. It's me flying you out somewhere to get this training over the summer, and I know, over the summer it's a big deal. And he's like, yeah, I want to do it. So we flew him out, and we came back, and we started this guitar building class, which involves electronics. I mean, the whole, a lot of stuff, and it's been one of our most popular classes. The next thing we did was we started e-gaming, really before a lot of people started e-gaming. I want to think it was 2018 was our first e-gaming group, and so my tech guy came and said, okay, we're going to do this. These desktops we have now aren't sufficient.
Right.
So and he's talking Greek to me. Okay, so just give me what you need, and he sends me specs, and I sign off on it. And then that comes out of Title IV, which is a federal pot of money that we can use it for. And we have a gaming team. We have a gaming team that leads to one of our students applying to Indiana Tech, being accepted, who's now an engineer.
Nice.
Who saw me at the taqueria last summer and said, hey, Mr. Shoemate, I just wanted to thank you for starting gaming, because I would have never gotten to where I'm at now, because engineering wasn't even on one of his focuses when he went to school. So we really pushed the ball, I think, at Cobden at trying to. Right now, we're building. My art teacher, my tech guy are building the old consoles, the old gaming consoles like Pac-Man. And so we're repurposing. Students are repurposing our used Chromebook screens as screens for them. So we're not spending any money on that.
Oh, cool.
And then we have a CNC router or cutter or whatever that cuts all the designs out. They come up with labels. We actually have one in our new gym where you get to fight the Centurions, I forget the Bobcats. And of course, Gorville's is the one at the end.
The Black Cats.
The Black Cats. So
you got the Eagles.
Shout out to you, Steve Webb.
That's awesome.
So it's I think it's big to come in, and we do the same things with academics. If somebody comes in with an idea of this is what we want to do, go for it. If we have the money, I'm gonna invest in you and your time, that this is gonna be beneficial for our students.
So do you play guitar?
I do not play guitar. No.
So are you building acoustics or electrics with that?
The electric. We did the little bitty ones with the.
Oh, like the mandolins or whatever they're called.
Yeah, something like that. They built some of those this year. So we kids love it. I go out there. Usually they dip their guitars the first year and got all the crazy colors on them. And so, but it's we had a GoPro at the bottom, and they dip down. And
nice.
But it's they get to keep them. They get to take them home. We're not charging them anything for them. And we have a lot of students that will if they're not done, we'll come back in the summer to work on them and make sure they finish it. So
I used to play guitar a lot, and I probably got 4 or 5 still. But I would love to learn to build my own. Yeah. That sounds like I ought to take a class from you guys.
Hit us up.
Well, that's definitely one of the things that we want. If you look at our facilities plan, we're going to try to build a maker space.
Yeah,
out here.
And we started off with a maker space, and we still do. I mean, and we just got this huge art grant. Mr. Crawford wrote for with the help of a local person, but we just ordered a ceramic pottery 3D printer, and so it's just. we have a lot of stuff, a lot of toys that kids wouldn't have, that you wouldn't think a rural school would have.
No, that's awesome.
I mean, that's our big thing. And like, one of the biggest compliments we've gotten is, we started the gaming program, and Carbondale High School calls you, right? Carbondale High School's got everything. So and Vienna called, and it's been a good thing for us.
Were you up before Massac?
Yeah, we were up before Massac. Yeah, we actually were playing Massac once Massac got up. I think Massac came to see us too.
So. I've seen their facilities. Have you been there? It's pretty nice.
We're not. We have ours in our computer lab. But it's.
You don't have the lazy boy recliners.
We're not doing lazy boy recliners. No. I had a teacher with one that we have to get rid of. So.
Okay, so what's the most unusual or unexpected challenge you've encountered as a superintendent?
I think COVID. I think COVID and the death of a student. I think both of those would fall into that. I mean, you're just not like, and I want to say we were more prepared during COVID, because when COVID hit, it was a conversation I was having with my staff 3 or 4 weeks out before the state shut us down. We were already prepared to go to online. We were already prepared for packets in the elementary building. All that stuff was done. So when it hit, we were there. We had our computers all lined up, ready to be signed out. We had Wi-Fi hotspots, but you just don't ever expect that to happen, right? You don't expect a pandemic to hit, and then we were serving lunches every day, and then my entire kitchen staff went down with COVID or was close contact. So my wife, myself, my principal, who's now my assistant superintendent, and some other, we were making lunches every day, putting them on buses, riding 2 routes every day. I mean, it's
delivering lunch,
delivering lunches, and it's one of those things that that we really struggled with, and then the death of a student. I that you don't know how to respond. You just don't. You don't know how to respond, and you don't know if you're doing the right thing. I mean, I kept asking my counselor. I'm like, am I saying the right thing? Are we putting out the right information? Do we need to do something else? And then you always want to be, very vigilant how the family feels of the student, right? Because you don't want to do too much, and you don't want to cross the line into their private time of grief. But that's a struggle.
Sure.
So go back to the innovative. I got one more.
Sure.
Go back to innovative. One more. So we have we took on a grant this year that's locally sourced food. So we're locally sourcing all of our food from all local farmers. So we're fresh chicken breast. We're buying eggs. We're buying vegetables. And so we're trying to get to where we're 40% of all of our food comes from local sources.
That's great.
Including lunch and breakfast. So that's something we're really proud of and super excited about, and look forward to year number 2.
Well, that will have a definite health consequence for our students.
Yeah, and they're trying food they've never tried. My son's a big eater and he weighs 110 pounds, but everything that we serve he likes. So it's a good thing. We're able to do things, and I want to give a big shout out to our kitchen staff and my assistant superintendent who helps run that program. They've done a phenomenal job, and it caused a lot of stress when we start, but it's been worth it. So and the state's just giving money to us right now, so we're going to take it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Do you see that you're going to be able to sustain it beyond state money?
I think so. The numbers that are coming back, and these, I think the numbers we have right now are just Murfreesboro and us are doing it. Both schools are. Murfreesboro's figures right now are it's cheaper than buying commodities and buying from other sources. So right now we're really, really hoping to keep it going, to expand it. To have fresh cinnamon rolls with peaches in the morning for kids, and true, like we do a lot of bison.
Really?
Yeah. So and the kids love bison. So it's bison stew. We have bison tacos. We actually had we had bought half a cow at one point. So, but we're really looking forward to year 2 of that.
That sounds great. So if you weren't in education, what would you be in and why?
Oh, I would probably be a police officer.
Really?
That was something, yeah. My mom always thought that that's where I was going, because I didn't have a real clear path when I got out of high school. I had, not a super great student, high school student, somebody that, really was just there for sports and about it. That's what kept me coming to school, which is why I think it's important that we have sports, because kids, a lot of kids, some of your kids will come to school just because there's a ball game that night, and you want them there as much as possible. But sports was a big driver for me being at school. But I think police officer, and I have a tendency to notice things that other people don't notice sometimes. It drives me nuts, but because I'll tell them, "Did you see that?" No, I didn't see it. I'm like, okay.
Have you ever went on a run with some police
I
officers?
have not. I don't think I'm brave enough to do that, even though, it's Southern Illinois and what can happen, right? But I just, I don't think I don't know.
All right, so I was in a leadership program in Wisconsin, and one in Decatur, and one in Michigan,
Right.
and all of those require, as part of the community, is that you go on rides with the police officers. You need to go on rides with the police officers, then come back and tell me you want to be a police officer.
Okay.
The stuff they deal with is crazy.
Well, you can watch that on YouTube.
Yeah. Exactly. It is crazy. I had so much respect for those officers.
I think that might be the reason why I would never do it. Is with stuff I've seen on YouTube.
Bad boys,
Yeah.
bad. Yeah. Okay. So let's move to the AI question again. Go back to it. How do you see AI and technology reshaping K-12 education, and what do you think higher ed needs to do in order to adapt?
I don't know. That's such a tough, because it's so evolving right now. With all the studies coming out of how quick it's moving, and there doesn't seem to be any restraints on it.
Right. That's one of the problems right now.
And so are they going to replace teachers? There's got to be a human factor there, right?
I don't think, anyway. At least at this point.
K-12 and higher ed has to have that human factor.
Mm-hmm.
And once you take that human factor away, I think you lose all credibility. But
the generative AI, is the newest stuff. It doesn't have that capability, and you may get 2 or 3 generations down where we have that capability. But I think the focus on AI is on two things. I'm not going to say are unimportant, because they're
Right.
important, but in the big scheme of things, I think we should be looking at AI as a tool. But people are focusing on it as kids cheating on papers.
yeah,
Which you're not going to stop.
we have software.
And then it replacing people. Illinois just passed a law saying, you can't replace teachers. So,
Yeah.
I think really what we should be focusing on, this is just another tool. It's just
Right.
like a diagnostic machine for an automobile. How do you use it
So I
correctly?
need to get into AI.
I would encourage you to get ahead of it.
I need to use it. Huh?
I think,
My staff uses it quite a bit. I don't have a tendency to use it. I don't like getting AI emails. I can tell you that.
Oh, I don't either. A lot of people, that's the problem.
And
People
they think though they'll never know. It's like you can instantly tell that's not
Exactly.
the usual email you get from that person.
And,
so.
and he'll give you wrong information if you're
Yeah.
not paying attention.
Yeah.
So you got to really pay attention to it. But
Absolutely.
it is like I challenge my faculty here. I said, give me any of your tests. I said, I don't care what you do. I'll pass it with AI.
Yeah.
And I'm confident that I could do 95% of those exams, even the open answer questions, and I could modify the language in ways so they won't be able to tell. And I don't care what AI detector you have,
Right.
You could probably change it enough that you could fool it, or else it's going to say everything's AI.
Yeah.
But I think it's really a tool that how a faculty member uses it. So, for example, what I would encourage, grammar teachers, English teachers to kind of consider is kids going to use the AI whether you like it or not. They're going to go behind the scenes and they're going to figure it out. So how can you have them write a paper with AI and then go through and edit it? And have them edit it in front of you? And what changes would they make and why? And they're using this word. What does that word mean? Have them look it up. And so then that changes that focus of the learning.
Right.
And so I think there's techniques that
we have a junior high teacher who's dabbled in it, and
Yeah.
she's done some good stuff with that. She's our social studies teacher. She felt like she had to ask permission to use
Sure,
it, right? And of course, we now have all these new policies that have just been handed out to us from about AI
Mhm.
from the state.
State,
And
yeah.
yeah, so it should be fun.
So, I mean, the state's governing from a fear approach
Yeah.
instead of, I think that we need to shift that to,
It's a tool.
this tool and how can we use it for
Right.
good? And if we can figure out how to do that, we could probably get ahead of this a little bit better. But I do think it's going to have an impact. And where it will have an impact is outside of government regulated schools. Because what I'm seeing in the higher ed space especially is a lot of private competition, not just from other higher ed institutions, but from other organizations you wouldn't normally consider to be in the higher education space. Silicon Valley's got a whole litany of companies that will provide badges for students who want to learn about cybersecurity. They don't have to go through
Right.
the San Francisco community college system. They can just get that badge and go to work. And they're putting them to work with these badges. And so unless we figure out how to use this correctly or to encourage students and encourage learning, at least in higher ed, I'll worry about our viability long term. So I guess kind of along the same lines, in 20 years, what do you think K-12, K-14 education is going to look like? And how do you see the college's role evolving in the future?
That's deep. That's a deep question. I really think you're going to see a lot of things that are similar. I think you have that teacher in front of the board. It might be a different type of board, but you're going to have that interaction, that human interaction with people in classrooms, and so I don't know. I'm more worried about digital devices and where that takes us, and what they come up with next. I guess would be. I don't have a deep sense.
Have you seen any of this recent VR, MR, AR, immersion learning kind of stuff?
I've seen some of it, but I don't know how it would fit. I mean, as an educator today, how does that fit in the future? I think is my struggle with that question, because it's so open ended. I mean, because it's moving so fast. I think everything that it could be great, because you could do maybe the hands-on learning type of stuff at your house on some type of simulator type of stuff. But I think I'm more worried about academics than
Sure.
I am changing and revolving and getting messed up in politics and stuff like
Sure,
that than I am.
I understand that completely. You mentioned you had some students go to Arizona State. I spent some time down at Arizona State, took Senator Fowler and others down there to experience some of their new VR technologies called Dreamscape Learn. And they got this biology course. Have you heard of this?
No.
They got this biology course, basic first semester biology. Right. Of course, Arizona State, they've got hundreds of thousands of students. And so they have about, I think they said 10,000 biology majors. And so that majors, not just course takers. And so when they first implemented this Dreamscape Learn, Dreamscape is Steven Spielberg's company that he works with Disney. They had created this story and created this group, this alien dinosaur that had some sort of problem. At first, there's 6 engagements the students have throughout the biology semester where they go in and they learn about this alien race. And the first thing is you buy into it. You feel
right.
You start to love this dinosaur and this leader. And then all of a sudden it gets sick. And so when it gets sick, you had to go through some scientific principles to start to diagnose what the problems might be and develop a theory. So they would have this learning engagement. They would go back to the labs and practice all the stuff they would do in labs. And then they would go back and do another one. And they tested their theory, and the theory didn't work the first time, so they had to redeploy. And so they went through this the whole semester. The first time they did it, they had about half their students do the immersion learning piece. The other half didn't. But it's the same teachers, same class. The data, the analytics showed that the students who went in and did the immersion learning, 95% of them passed. And that was a grade and a half higher than the other group that didn't do it. And the best part, at least for me, is it didn't matter about their demographics. First time
Key, yeah.
socioeconomics
Right.
didn't play a factor in the performance. And so to me, that's a game changer.
Yeah.
And so when you start thinking about the entertainment aspect, which our kids want to be entertained, all of them do.
All of them do.
Including mine, coupled with learning in a virtual environment. And then you start to integrate AI in there where it can adjust based on answers. So you got kind of an adaptive
so
process.
VR headset with.
Well, it may just be glasses.
Yeah.
You know, that
By then
don't-
it might be. I mean,
Yeah.
my son has a VR headset, and it's like jump scare, like with
Right.
Freddy,
You do the
Five
Star
Nights at
Wars.
Freddy or something like that, right?
Oh.
So
Mine's got the Star Wars
Yeah,
game, where the
yeah, so
lightsaber battles.
he uses that, and he showed me a couple simulators that he's found online, but it's just, I don't know, where do we draw the line on?
Well, I think that will play out in 20 years.
Yeah.
If you ever ask me, I think
20
we'll figure
years,
that piece
yeah.
out.
So-
I will probably be cognizant enough to understand what's going on at that time, but maybe you will. All right, so what keeps you hopeful and excited about the future of education?
Oh, every time we graduate, group
Oh,
of
you
kids,
got that
right?
That's
I
awesome.
mean, every time they walk across that stage to get that diploma, and I always make it a point to have a small conversation with them
Mm-hmm.
as I put their tassel on the right side for them, and then and I try to make it personal, and I know you're going to be a nurse, and you're going to be a great nurse, and that type of stuff. And then when they come back, when you see them at a ball game or something, and they want to tell you what they're doing, and those are conversations that I think make educators realize that we do important work every day. So I think just having those kids come back and tell stories, and then and the joy of a lot of our families, our minority families, of having kids graduate, come across the stage and know that they're going to college. So our counselors do a great job. So just the amount of scholarships that people are giving out nowadays is large, but it's just just having that moment with those students as they graduate, and then having them come back and tell us all the things they're doing. It's better than being on Facebook, right? Because they're saying to you in person, this is, you see the excitement on their face, and it's just, I get a lot of joy out of that.
I agree. The same. You've probably been in this business long enough now that you're seeing parents come back with their kids now.
Well, I've changed schools, so I have a lot of parents that at Vienna that I know that their kids are graduating. Some of my teachers' kids are graduating, but it should in the next. I mean, I've been there 10 years, so we're
You're getting close to
coming up on
recycling,
it,
right?
Yeah. So hopefully I only have 7 left. I hope so, but we'll see. 7. I started late.
Yeah, me too. Well, depends on what my kids do. I may have up to 10. So,
Yeah.
But I enjoy it. That's the one thing I realized by trying to retire is I really enjoyed. I miss the day-to-day stuff with this. So, and I just can't go until Missy's ready because she's got about 7, 8 more years too. So.
All right.
Then we can figure it out together. Anything you wish I asked that I didn't?
No, I think you covered your bases.
All right, man.
Well, we didn't talk baseball, but
All right, let's
big
talk
Braves
a little.
fan.
Well,
they stink right now. So
Well, I grew up. Actually, people don't know this, but I grew up in Danville, and so Danville's
Right.
closer kind of to Indianapolis. I
Yeah.
don't know why, but back when I grew up in the late '60s, there was an AM radio station that would capture Yankee games, and so I actually started listening to Yankee games with my grandpa, and would hear about Mickey Mantle,
Right.
and that group, and so I kind of became a Yankees fan from that. And then my first Little League game, it's customary for the coaches to buy the kids something after at the concession stand. So I would get baseball cards. And one of my first baseball cards was a Thurman Munson rookie.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's 79 tops or 78 tops.
69.
Thurman, yeah, you're right. 69.
It's a
yeah.
69
he died
rookie.
in 70.
5 or 6, I think.
Yeah.
Someone, you might be right, 79. I don't know. It was a sad day in my life. And,
Yeah, I remember that.
I was number 15 for years.
There you go.
But my mom grew up a Cubs fan, and in Danville we had WGN that had Cubs games, and so one day it was raining and she let me come in out of the rain, and the Cubs was on, and Bert Hooton was pitching, and he that knuckle curve, and he threw a no-hitter, and I was like, I like the Cubs too. So I've been a Cubs Yankees fan my entire life, but we've always had some good rivalries with the Cards. The Braves, they've been good.
We stole Maddox and did really well with him, and we can't stay healthy right now. So
I got a different picture of the Braves when I was up in Milwaukee, though, because they were the Milwaukee Braves.
Milwaukee Braves.
Back in the Hank Aaron days.
I went to County Stadium before it closed down.
Yeah, I've been there.
I
like the old County Stadium better. Yeah, really.
The new park's nice. It's got a lot of amenities, but you're right. The old ballpark's.
Yeah, I like character. Didn't they recorded some movies there, like a Babe Ruth or something in there?
They might have. I don't know. Yeah.
They also did that because they had part of it at Danville Stadium to mimic the Brewers old stadium, but they also did some cutting up there, so it was it was cool. All right, anything else?
I'm good.
Not a football fan?
Cowboys fan.
Oh man, you're gonna love our lawyer. Our lawyer, John Schneider, is a Cowboys fan.
Cowboys.
How do you get
I watched the '77 Super Bowl. Was the first football game I watched.
Oh, man,
and that
Tom
was
Landry and that crew.
They were playing the Broncos.
Staubach was quarterback, wasn't he?
Yeah. So I followed. That's the first game I ever remember. My dad's a Packers fan, and we can't watch football together. So, but anyways, Cowboys fan. So.
Ever been to Lambeau or Dallas
my
Stadium?
Dad's been. I went to Texas. I went to Dallas Stadium. My wife got me tickets for Father's Day one year, and we went down and watched the Giants and Cowboys play. Oh. So interesting.
My aunt was a big Cowboys fan. She's America's team.
Oh yeah.
So basketball.
Basketball. I'm a Celtics fan just because I grew up watching the Celtics and Lakers play.
Yeah.
They were always on.
Yeah, always. They still are. Celtics. They know how to win.
ESPN. So
yeah, that's it for today's campus conversations. If you do have any questions or like to ask Mr. Shoemate or myself, please email them and we'll get back to you with the answers. And thank you for paying attention. Take care now.